if they ever arrested Trump, right? MAGA would 200% print that on like a shirt and make it like a badge of honor for him. Let's just go. Let's see what's happening. Oh yeah, I need to put this on dark mode. All right. Is Trump actually getting arrested this week? Here's what we know. All right. Let's see. When was this put out? Like 1. Yeah, okay. So this was earlier today at like 1 p.m. So, all right. After years of facing investigation after investigation, former President Donald Trump says one of those probes will lead to his arrest on Tuesday. If it comes to pass, Trump would be the first former president to be indicted and likely the first presidential candidate to campaign while facing criminal charges. So, let's. Hey, what are you doing? Get out of here. Okay. What if I don't want to do that? That's. Oh, there's an X right there. Okay. Let's. Let me stake out my ground. Off rip. Should Trump be arrested? That's like the big question, right? Like, after January 6th and all of the election fraud stuff that he was pushing, or that he was kind of pushing, forwarding all that rhetoric after the election, do I think that Trump should be indicted on, I don't really know what exactly, maybe inciting a mob, I guess. That might be, incitement, might be violent incitement. I don't know what the charge would be. I'm assuming they're gonna, talk about that. But like, should that be something that he's investigated for, or should that be something he's arrested for, I guess? I think that based on what we've seen from the January 6th committee, it seems fairly reasonable to say that Trump definitely incited that crowd, got them riled up, specifically, explicitly said, go to the Capitol, we're gonna change minds or whatever, and it led to January 6th. Now, obviously, like, his rhetoric throughout the election, his rhetoric after the election, his rhetoric, quite frankly, since he popped up on the political scene in 2015, all of his political rhetoric has kind of led him to this point. But obviously you can't really, the idea of building an entire case around his rhetoric over the course of 4+ years, I think that's a much harder sell and a much harder a threshold for proof, basically. So, like, the incitement on January 6th, I think, is likely. But but we'll kind of see about that. Now, the second question becomes, in terms of his financial dealings, because that's also, I believe, I'm like glancing here. The Manhattan DA is the person who's, investigating all of this stuff, right? So, like, the question becomes, okay, do his financial dealings, does the way he goes about his business warrant an arrest? To which that is a little bit easier. I think, yeah, it's kind of self-evident. Trump has a history, a known history of when he wants to get loans, of inflating the value of his properties, when he wants to get favorable treatment from banks, from lenders, from the government, anybody. He inflates, when he reports the values and the income made and any of that stuff about his businesses, it's always, doing really well. The buildings are worth a lot of money, all this stuff, right? But once tax season comes around, he devalues the value of those assets, being like, then when taxes come around, then he claims, oh, we actually lost money. Oh, the building, the buildings aren't worth, like, lost value this year. All the rest of this stuff, which is all like self-reported, right? So essentially, like, he lies on his taxes. He actively engages in tax fraud, which a lot of, let's be very clear, a lot of incredibly, and when I say incredibly, I'm not talking like celebrities. I'm talking about like captains of industry. I'm talking about like leaders of banks. Like the kind, like I'm talking about the people who write rich people's paychecks. Those people actively do engage in a lot of tax fraud. So like, you know, when you ask me like, oh, is Trump doing anything unique? Not really. But is it still against the law? Yeah, it is. Do I wish they would take this kind of stance, this kind of aggressive stance against all the other people in Trump's class? Absolutely. But like at the end of the day, they're focusing on him because he's such a prominent figure and because quite frankly, he doesn't have the connections to keep his nose clean. Um, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, law breaking's law breaking. He should be arrested the same way bankers should be arrested for the fall of SVB. Like, these are all kind of like, yeah, I do think there is a, if not obsession, like a deeper interest into Trump, but that doesn't negate the fact that he still broke the law. So I just want to stick that ground out first. But a quick refresher: Trump is currently facing at least 5 investigations covering everything from his possession of classified documents to his role in the January 6th attacks on the U.S. Capitol. Oh, the classified documents thing is like, that's not, I don't even need to like talk, like obviously he should be arrested for that. Like that was very obvious document theft. But the latest indictment rumors stem from just one of those probes, the one led by Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg. Bragg's office is examining whether Trump and his company broke state laws in paying hush money to adult film star Stephanie Clifford, better known as Stormy Daniels. Are we really on the Stormy Daniels thing still? Golly, guys. Okay. Like, I mean, he did, but like, of all the things to go after him for. Daniel says she had a sexual encounter with Trump in 2006, a claim that Trump has repeatedly denied, but his company still paid $130,000 to the star in exchange for her silence during Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. In 2018, campaign finance investigation into that payment led Trump's longtime personal attorney, Michael Cohen, to plead guilty to federal charges. Okay, so let's be really, really clear here. The Stormy Daniels thing, in and of itself, paying somebody to not come out and talk about you, and like, spill the tea on you, like paying that person to stay quiet, right? As far as I'm aware, isn't technically illegal, right? And to a certain degree, it kind of would make sense from like a, like if somebody's willing to be like, okay, I won't mention it, but you have to pay me, you have to pay me monetarily. There's nothing really wrong with that. Or at the very, like conceptually, at least, right? But here's the kicker. Trump didn't pay those bills. The Trump campaign paid those, which like the company paid those, basically paid that hush money bill to her. Now, here's the problem with that. Trump the person and Trump the company are two different entities. And if one is paying, if Trump the company is paying for the personal legal fees or that sort of thing to Trump the individual, that is in and of itself illegal, or at the very least like very sussy, and has to be kind of accounted for in their records and in their finances. But if they ended up like kind of like, paying it off and then saying that it was for other things, claiming that $130,000, especially if they claim that $130,000 payment was a loss for the company, when in fact what it was Trump paying himself through his company, that's against the law. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to take money that is the company's, put it and just give it to yourself to pay your own personal finances. That's not how companies work. Because if you did that, you would have, untold amount of like CEOs dipping into company funds to pay for this or that, which by the way, and let's be honest, they kind of do. But then that would put at risk those businesses, and it just isn't good. It's a general regulation on businesses that you don't do that. But anyway, that's Like, that's the reason why that is. It's really like an unforced error. Like, it's something that it's like, if this idiot would have just paid with his own checking account, we wouldn't even be talking about it. But his dumbass paid it through his company, which means it's a company expense, except it's not. Like, it's a Trump expense. So it's like, you know, if you can't justify it, then that tells tax collectors and everybody else that, like, you know, this company just your personal slush fund, which it's not. That's not what companies as entities legally are. But anyway, now a grand jury is examining the way Cohen was reimbursed and whether the method violated New York law. Mark Pomerantz, a former prosecutor who worked on the Manhattan probe, told NPR's Fresh Air that Trump's company falsely hid the payment as legal fees. Falsifying business records could be a violation of New York criminal law. Which, again, it's like, you fucking idiot. Just, if you would have just swiped your card, it would have been fine. Federal prosecutors have also said that it was Trump himself who directed Cohen to arrange the payments, meaning Trump could be held responsible for the false records. Trump was invited to testify before the grand jury earlier this month, which is typically the last step. Excuse me. Last step before a person faces criminal indictment. But ultimately, it's up to Bragg whether to press those charges, and legal observers say he'd have a tough case to win. Let's see. All right. Why am I hearing that Trump will be arrested this week? The rumor that Trump will be arrested on Tuesday started with the former president himself. Trump posted the claim on social media on his social media platform Truth Social on Saturday morning, citing illegal leaks from a corrupt and highly political Manhattan district attorney's office. He added that the arrest would be, quote, based on an old and fully debunked by numerous other prosecutors fairy tale. As far as I know, it hasn't. Trump's attorney, Susan Necklace, told NPR that Trump's speculation is based on media reports and implied Trump's legal team hadn't received advance notice of an impending indictment. Oh my God. I'm so yawning. I don't know why. All right. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office declined to comment this weekend on whether it will soon be pursuing an arrest warrant for Trump. Several media outlets, including the Associated Press, reported that law enforcement officials in New York were making security preparations for an indictment, but framed the timing of such events as, quote, in the coming weeks. Okay. What would Trump arrest look like? Pressing charges against Trump would be a huge logistics and security test for Bragg's office, a move that would involve coordination between Trump's lawyers and Secret Service and local law enforcement. Trump would need to be brought in for fingerprinting, and he would likely appear in a New York court for an arraignment. Jesus, can you imagine? Fucking the fucking mugshot, the Trump mugshot. And oh my God, let's be honest. Okay. Like, I don't know how many of you are wrestling fans, but like, let's see if I can find it. Like, I feel like if they did, like, you know, like if they did anything like that, if they ever arrested Trump, right, and he would have to do like a mugshot type deal, you know, that they, like, Trump himself and like it, like they would like maybe not Trump, but certainly like MAGA would 200% print that on like a shirt and make it like a badge of honor for him. You know that law breaking for the MAGA crowd, if it's Trump, is like a badge of honor. All they ever talk about, you know, they consistently whine and cry and concern troll about crime rates, about crime, about, you know, law breaking, about degeneracy, all this stuff, right? But like when it's one of their guys, it's like, yeah, boy, broke the law. Yeah, you know, breaking the law is okay because they're after him or whatever. It's so funny to me that there are people who live with the dissonance of believing that there is a rigged criminal justice system only for Trump, but not for black people. Like the idea that our criminal justice system is a bit biased through its history, through the way it was constructed against black people who used to be property and used to not have the equal amount of rights as white people. The idea that that system is rigged against that group and like isn't like it is ridiculous to them. But if you told them, oh yeah, like that same system, it's against Trump and Trump alone, they would like buy up whole cloth. They'd be like, absolutely. Like it's kind of crazy. But anyway, Trump needed right. All of that would be made more complicated by public attention. Since first forecasting his arrest, Trump has taken to Truth Social several more times to ask his supporters to protest. We can't just allow this anymore, he wrote on Saturday. They're killing our nation as we sit back and watch. The rhetoric struck ominous comparisons to Trump words ahead of the 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. Okay, so like this is the thing. Keep in mind, why is Trump doing this, right? First of all, why is he like going on Truth Social and telling everybody, hey, I'm about to be arrested? He's doing it for the same reason that he held that rally on January 6th, and why the specific like ask he was asking of his supporters were to march down to the Capitol and put pressure on certain Republicans, right? Like that was his whole thing. Because what Trump is doing is he is trying to leverage public pressure, public support, and basically the threat of riots, the threat of public violence, of mass public violence, to get the Manhattan DA to back down. That's what this is. This is what we would colloquially call in the streets a shakedown. Like at the end of the day, the DA needs to make a decision on, was there law, like were there laws broken? Can we pursue it? Can we can we prosecute it? Can we win? Those are normally the forces that a district attorney is going to be facing. It's like, do we have the evidence? Can we, can we get this done? Can we win? Right? Those are usually the only things that DAs are concerned about. But there is a kind of like fourth element whenever you're bringing charges, whenever you're dealing with somebody who's in the public purview, which is you need to weigh that against, and this is like a human thing of like, if you're a DA, you're thinking to yourself, fuck, do I want to go after this guy? Because if I do, there is a non-zero chance that they're going to be angry, and possibly, if it's a MAGA crowd, armed people at my door. Like somebody will dox my address on 4chan, on any of these right-wing websites, and target me. So like, it's an intimidation tactic. It's a shakedown. It's Trump trying to use his popularity with the MAGA crowd to basically pressure the DA to back the fuck down. Which, I mean, like, from a like legal standpoint, is like if you cared about the legality, if you cared about the like the legal process, then you would probably be like, oh, wait a minute, this probably isn't great. Like, this isn't really like good. This probably isn't like good in terms of like the way our like legal system works out. Like, that's not really how our legal system is supposed to be working out. You're not supposed to be able to just rally a bunch of people and get out of breaking crime, like breaking laws. Like, it's not really how that works. But yeah, it's kind of wild. Like, and that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get a January 6th type crowd to basically threaten to like siege the fucking Manhattan DA's office the same way they did the Capitol, in an attempt to get them, to intimidate them to back the fuck off. Branca signaling that he takes the threat seriously, as first reported by Politico. The DA sent an internal memo to staff on Sunday, assuring his colleagues that their safety was his first priority. The next morning, reporters spotted New York police placing metal barricades around the perimeter of the Manhattan Criminal Court. Yep, there it is. Let's see. So I actually found this. So it's luckily they linked this. Dear colleagues, I'm sure that you have seen the ongoing press attention and public comments surrounding an ongoing investigation by this office. Please know that your safety is our top priority. We have full confidence in our outstanding security investigators, along with our great OCA and NYPD colleagues, and will continue to coordinate with all of them. We do not tolerate attempts to intimidate our office or threaten the rule of law in New York. Our law enforcement partners will ensure that any specific or credible threats against the office will be fully investigated and that the proper safeguards are in place so all 1,600 of us have a secure work environment. The office is full of the finest public servants in the country. I am committed to maintaining a safe work environment where everyone is able to continue to serve the public with the same diligence and professionalism that make this institution so renowned. In the meantime, as with all of our investigations, we will continue to apply the law evenly and fairly and speak publicly only when appropriate. If you have questions or concerns, please contact supervisor. Okay, yeah. And keep in mind, if a normal person ever did something like this would not slide. Like, absolutely. If you threatened to rally like your 8-second cousins and like your extended family to protest, like, you know, to violently protest, or, you know, again, to protest, but also like, hey, you should bring your guns, you know, because your Second Amendment rights. If you did this as a normal person, they'd just clap you up immediately. They'd be like, nope, no. They'd scoop your ass up with no hesitation. But because Trump is a prominent figure, he's rich, he's popular, you know, he's a celebrity, he gets kids' gloves. Okay, how are Republicans reacting? Prominent Republicans have also tried to sway Trump supporters away from protesting. That's actually probably smart and good. Speaking at a GOP retreat, Jesus Christ, over the weekend, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy from California said he wanted everyone to stay calm. I don't think people should protest this. No, and I think President Trump, if you talk to him, he doesn't believe that either. Marjorie Taylor Greene, a reliable soothsayer for conservative sentiment, said on Twitter that Trump supporters don't actually need to demonstrate because they could take revenge at the 2024 ballot box. Here we go again. Here we go again. An outrageous abuse of the power by a radical DA who lets violent criminals walk as he pursues political vengeance against President Trump. Okay, let's immediately address this. So Kevin McCarthy can say, "Oh, you shouldn't be protesting," but like, they always do this, right? They always play both sides, where they'll be like, oh, I don't think people should protest, but then be like an outrageous abuse of power by a radical DA. To which the question becomes, if you're telling people to not protest and then you say it's an outrageous abuse of power by a radical district attorney, what do you think the remedy is that? If you're telling that to normal people, what are their options? What are they going to sue the DA? No, they know they can't do that. What they do know is that they can take to the streets, they can arm themselves and stand up to their government. Like, you say that because like you can't have it both ways. You can't argue, you can't give them a problem with only one way for them to solve it and then say don't solve it that way. You've already set them up. You've already contextualized it in their head that this is the only way that they can address this problem that they see. Also, like, the Manhattan DA is, especially like the Alvin Bragg or whatever, he's not the guy who investigates like petty criminals. That's not this same office. The Manhattan DA office that we're talking about generally investigates like high crime. Like, they're going to be looking into tax fraud. They're going to be looking into what's the word I'm looking for? Like 1%er crime, basically. They're going to be looking into like business crimes or like fraud, stuff like that. Like, they're not doing like kind of the small time stuff. That's usually led by like, I think, different offices from what I've understood. And even so, like, the idea that like, oh yeah, they're not investigating criminals, they're only going after Trump, that's also not at all true. Unless you want to tell me that they haven't taken any cases, to which again the question becomes, what are the group of people they're investigating? Like, he's just lying. Like, let's be honest, he's just lying. I'm directing relevant committees to immediately investigate if federal funds are being used to subvert our democracy by By interfering in elections with politically motivated prosecutions. Well, so this is the thing. You would have to prove, first of all, the idea that arresting somebody who wants to run for president is a subversion of democracy in and of itself is like a fundamental like misunderstanding of what democracy is. Is democracy the allowance of people who break the law to get out of it by seeking public office so that they can basically shield themselves from indictment under that law? Is that democracy? Is the subversion of democracy where you enforce the laws on people that break the law and want to run for elected office? This makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. Like it's same with like interfering in elections, politically motivated. You can say it's politically motivated all you want, but at the end of the day, any DA's office isn't interested in the political isn't interested in the politics of it. What they're interested in is was there law breaking? Was it by this person? Can we prove it? Can we win our case? Those are the only things that any district attorney should ever be interested in. Because any other put it like inserting politics, inserting all this stuff it takes away from the process of performing the law equally over everybody, right? But specifically like bringing like Kevin McCarthy, he wants to do this at the end of the day. Kevin McCarthy explicitly is making this political by inferring, by claiming that it's politically motivated instead of what it is, which is simply the undertaking of the law the way it always has been. That's it. Like at the end of the day, like he himself is making this political by saying things like it's an overreach of power. Like he's manifesting the political angle of this. But yeah. But McCarthy and Greed and other Republicans are also giving Trump a full-throated defense, dismissing the investigation as politically motivated. The House leader tweeted later on Saturday that he was asking House committees to quote, investigate. We just read that. House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan from Ohio, piece of shit, heeded that call, issuing a letter to Bragg on Monday, calling for all, quote, communications, documents, and testimony relating to Trump to the Trump investigation. Also, keep in mind, when we talk about, so I almost certainly have called the GOP the institution of the Republican Party fascist, and this is a perfect example of it. The House GOP right now is using their position as the House majority, as the people who decide what and how we investigate things. They are using that ability now to actively stop, to halt, to interfere with legal investigations into political figures that they themselves are basically what's the word I'm looking for, that they find favorable. Essentially, they're using their positions of power to actively shield other Republicans, this one being Trump specifically, from legal recourse, not because they think it's illegal, not because they think he didn't do anything wrong, not because of any of these things, but under the guise of political the guise of what I'm looking for, of not political correctness, I guess kind of political correctness, but of political partisanship. Like, that's all this is. This is, we are going to use the forces of the state to guard members of our party. Now, you tell me, does that seem just a bit off to you? Does that seem rather self-dealing, a little bit, just a little bit? When a political party, say what you want about the Hunter Biden stuff, say what you want about any of the, investigations into Benghazi, any of this stuff. All of this stuff happened, and at the end of the day, none of it came out of it Republicans investigated Benghazi. They've talked about they want to investigate Hunter Biden, even though we've had investigations into that. We've had people look into it. Nothing ever comes of it. So what are they doing? They're using their political offices to target their opponents and shield their allies. This is fascist 101. 101. Now, normally the levers of power are used to shield essentially the entire institution, right? Like at the end of the day, the house, even in a Democratic house, with some Justice Democrats, some progressives in those halls of power, right? Were they doing investigations into campaign finances? Were they doing investigations to reveal the just cavalcade of senators, of House of Representative members who obviously take money from from super PACs, from special interests, and then do the conveniently advocate in favor of those companies' positions? Have they done those investigations? No. And the reason for that is partially because, quite frankly, progressives don't have power in the House right now, but also because the institution is built to protect itself. Like, Jim Jordan isn't going to investigate Nancy Pelosi and her stock dealings and her inside trading. And would you like to know why? Because Kevin McCarthy is doing the exact same thing. Almost everybody in the House and almost everybody in the Senate is participating in self-dealing. But they're all doing it in a much more self-centered and self-interested way. Like, none of them are doing this to protect some rando who's not even in office. But the Republican Party, interestingly, has begun to take that turn, which should be a cause for concern. Because if they are now not just going to, if it's now going to be, we only protect Republicans, the question becomes, how does that manifest down the road? Like, will it just be Trump, or will it be, when other members of the Republican Party end up breaking the law, doing, X or Y thing to, break the law, whether it be financial crimes, whether it be something like actually really terrible, will the party go to the defense of these people? Because if they can rile up a MAGA type crowd to protest to defend that person, has the party been captured by that group at this point? Is that group now just a tool? And so, it's just a lot of we're setting a precedent here. I think with how hard they're going for Trump as an institution. Water. Could Trump still run for president? Republican support may prove to be a key barometer of Trump's 2024 presidential chances should the former president get arrested. Okay, so whatever they're gonna say, I'm gonna say this right now. If Trump gets arrested, that is going to supercharge his already overwhelming support in the Republican Party. No, I have no doubt about that. Trump getting arrested would be the coolest thing to happen to him and his side in since winning the 2016 election. They are going to be frothing at the mouth, all Republicans, basically. I think that holdout, those Republican holdouts, I think will end up being rolled into the galvanizing force to vote for Trump, because they're going to want to they're going to see Trump get arrested, and they're going to be like, yeah, that's my guy. He stood up to them. I need to stand up for him now by voting for him. Absolutely. I think getting arrested is the best thing for his campaign. There's nothing in U.S. law that prevents a candidate found guilty of a crime from campaigning for office. That is ridiculous. Let me be clear. The idea that you can run for office after you've been, sentenced and found guilty of a crime is actually insane, considering that there are people who aren't allowed to participate in our democratic system because they were found guilty of crimes. The idea that you could run for office, like the idea that like you were found guilty of a crime and now you can't vote but you can run for office, I think that makes no sense. Like I think you should absolutely be able to vote once you've served your time, because at the end of the day you served your time. That was your debt to society. You've now paid it. You now have all of your rights back. Now granted, there's something to be said about certain Second Amendment rights. I do think if you went to jail for domestic abuse, for assault charge, for any of that stuff, then I don't know if you have your. I don't know if we can give you back your Second Amendment right. But certainly your right to vote and participate in our democracy, I think, is fundamental. Let's see. There's nothing in the U.S. prevents law from guilty of crime, and Trump has repeatedly indicated he'd continue charging ahead. Absolutely, it's a smart thing to do. An arrest would undoubtedly complicate the physical business of campaigning, removing him from the trail at a time when other conservative candidates are considering a challenge. But narratively, Trump has already turned the frenzy over a possible indictment into fodder for his overarching message of political martyrdom, creating a clear us versus them line for his competitors to dare to cross. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who's been widely considered a top Republican potential contender, walked that line like a tight pole when weighing in on the investigation on Monday. I don't. Oh, do we? I think I saw a video, didn't he? He did like a video. Oh yes, here we go.
Tradition to New York.
So I've seen rumors swirl. I have not seen any facts yet, and so I don't know what's going to happen. But I do know this: the Manhattan District Attorney is a Soros-funded prosecutor, and so he, like other Soros-funded prosecutors,
is that true? Is that true? Okay. Let's see. Soros, Manhattan. Okay. We'll let this play while
They weaponize their office to impose a political agenda on society at the expense of the rule of law and public safety. He has downgraded over 50% of the felonies to misdemeanors. He says he doesn't want to even have jail time for the vast majority of crimes. And what we've seen in Manhattan is we've seen the crime rate go up, and we've seen citizens become less safe.
Okay, so a cursory Google search doesn't give me any result. So let's be really clear. Unless somebody wants to give me some concrete evidence, that whole Soros line, which we already knew, is hogwash, is poppycock, is just utterly bereft of reality. Like utterly bereft of it. Let's be really clear. I wouldn't be surprised if he drew that line because like Soros pays taxes in New York, and therefore his taxes go to public resources, which are technically the district attorney's office, which means it's like, yep, Soros funded. There you go, boom. Soros pays taxes in what's it called, okay, I thought I was locked into the thing. Soros pays taxes in New York, therefore they work for him. Even though everyone pays taxes in New York, they work for everybody. Anyway, let's
he, like other Soros prosecutors,
right
weaponize their office,
substantiate that you can't
a political agenda on society
well, yes, that is all legal agendas, meaning the like what's the word I'm looking for? The exercise of like the law. Yes, that our laws are politically designed. Yeah, yep. Are politically crafted. Yes.
At the expense of the rule of law and public safety. He has downgraded over 50% of the felonies to misdemeanors. He says he doesn't want to even have jail time.
Would you like to tell me which felonies?
Crimes.
Because if those are weed, then yeah, they're not. I think a misdemeanor for like marijuana makes sense.
And what we've seen in
he's not ever going to get into specifics.
The crime rate go up,
he's just going to,
and we've seen citizens
wave at vagaries.
So you're talking about this situation with, and look, I don't know what goes into paying hush money to a porn star to secure silence over some type of alleged affair. I can't speak to that. But what I can speak to is that if you have a prosecutor who is ignoring crimes happening every single day in his jurisdiction, and he chooses to go back many, many years ago to try to use something about porn star hush money payments, that's an example of pursuing a political agenda and weaponizing the office. And I think that that's fundamentally wrong. I also think it's important to point out when you're talking about these Soros-funded prosecutors.
Again, that's a lie. Oh, wait, go back really quickly.
Porn star hush money payments, that's an example of pursuing a political agenda and
okay, so let's be really, really clear. This investigation started back in I believe it was like 2015, maybe even 2014, when kind of a lot of this stuff started coming out, to which they investigated and prosecuted Michael Cohen, who was Trump's lawyer at the time, who then pled guilty to like fraud, basically. Like, or what was it? Sorry, I don't remember what he actually pled guilty to. What was it exactly? I think they said in this article, guilty to federal, let's see, former Trump testimony as part of the grant. No, which charges? I just want to know which charges. God, yeah, no. Where? Pleads guilty to 8 federal counts. Okay, give me this. I just want to know which counts exactly. Oh my God, go away. God damn, websites are shit these days. Let's see. The counts related to campaign. Oh yeah, campaign finance. Yeah. Campaign finance laws. Services rendered. Merely reimbursed for illegal campaign contributions. Like it's really funny. A lot of this stuff is like unforced errors. Like we wouldn't know about any of this. If Homeboy would have just like paid out of his own pocket. Work to pay the money to women believed with yep. Okay, yeah. So like and all of this came ahead. What 2018 is when he pled guilty to all this stuff. So like naturally they continued going after him, and then like they found out like, oh, in the process of him pleading guilty, they're like, oh well, like Trump told me to do all this shit. He directed me to do it. He's my boss. I'm his attorney. Like if that's what he wants, that's what he wants. Like I don't like. At the end of the day, if you're telling people to do, if you're telling your employees to do that, then that's on you, to a certain degree. Let's see. I'm also like kind of curious. They keep talking about like the Manhattan DA's office. But I'm kind of like curious. Let's see. Gun violence. Okay. Holding. Yeah. And I know they're like financial crimes is like a big part of this specific DA's office. Because isn't it like isn't Wall Street in Manhattan? Isn't that also like why they do a lot of financial crimes? Let me see. I actually don't know. I don't know where the fuck I know I'm pretty sure it's, no, I just want like actual Wall Street. Like, here we go. Okay, let's see. Wall Street Stock Exchange. Yep, Lower Manhattan. Yeah. Okay, so I was right. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, that's why they generally deal in what's it called, financial crimes. Like more, that's like where a lot of the resources go. Because Manhattan's like, obviously all of New York City is like a mess in terms of crime because it's a city, a lot of people packed in. But yeah, I know like they deal with financial crimes a lot more than anything else. Is like their focus.
Anyway, the office.
Okay.
I think that that's fundamentally wrong. I also think it's important to point out when you're talking about these Soros-funded prosecutors.
Also, again, if he broke the law, he broke the law.
A high-profile, politicized prosecution,
right?
And that's bad. But the real victims are ordinary New Yorkers, ordinary Americans, in all these different jurisdictions. They get victimized every day because of the reckless political agenda that these Soros DAs bring to their job.
Dude, they say Soros like it's like, I get it, you don't like Jews. I get it.
Every single day. These Soros district attorneys are a menace to society, and I'm just glad that I'm the only governor in the country that's actually removed one from office during my tenure.
Whoa, how much you want to bet he put in like an obvious political hack for his side though? Like when it comes down to it, like if you have to say Soros, you basically tell me that if you say Soros funded, Soros this, Soros that, you've immediately told me that you have no arguments, nothing, that you're just like, nope, I got nothing. I don't have anything. I'm just gonna say this and people are gonna take with it what they want. Okay. But McCarthy Green, oh wait, we already did this one. Oh yeah, wow, this is a weird, I can't tell if he's not supposed to have his hand or if he's supposed to. That also doesn't look like Trump at all. First of all, his head is too tall. Trump has a wide ass fucking head. Also, that just doesn't look like him. Like, I don't think that really looks like him at all. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Ron DeSantis. Okay, Blader added the real victims. Yeah, we already read that. Correction. An earlier version of the story mistakenly said that the New York grand jury was examining whether the payment to Michael Cohen violated federal law. The grand jury is examining whether the payment violated New York law. Payment to Michael. Oh, okay. Makes sense. But yeah. Okay. So cool. So, yeah, I mean, we'll kind of see how this plays out. When it comes down to it, should he be arrested? If he broke the law, then yes. That's as simple as it gets. If he broke the law, he should be arrested. You can complain that they're only investigating him, because of politics. But then I would have to ask you, like the question always becomes, if you think that they are over investigating, or in another way you might put it, over policing Donald Trump, do you find it kind of interesting that like they keep finding things, even minor things like the Stormy Daniels stuff? And then I would point you in the direction of the general, leftist argument that the police in America over-police black people in the same way that you think they're doing to Trump. And isn't it obvious that if you over-police somebody, if you put them under a magnifying glass, that you're probably going to find them cutting corners the same way everybody cuts corners in America in terms of the law? If the cops are always on you, and and everyone jaywalks. Everyone jaywalks, right? But if the cops are constantly on you, don't you think it's obvious when you get caught for jaywalking, but then people in other neighborhoods don't? So, I just want you to think about that. Like, think about how you conceptualize these systems, how you can recognize this pattern for one person, but extrapolate it out to a group seems absurd to you. The thing that they tell, like at the end of all YouTube videos where they tell you to like click on one of these like things to watch more videos. Yeah, I've been meaning to film one of those. So that's what I was doing. I was just setting it up to film one.